All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about something that I think is on everyone's mind these days, and that is money. But not just any money. We're talking about the future of money. The money 2.0 central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs.
Catchy name.
It is catchy, right? It sounds very futuristic, very high-tech, and that's because it is, but it's also a lot closer than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, a lot of countries are already working on this.
Yeah, we're talking like 95% of the global economy is already at some stage of exploring this.
Pretty much everyone.
So we've been digging through a ton of research on this, and let me tell you, it gets kind of complicated, so we're going to try to break it all down for you.
Yeah, we're going to do our best.
So what is a CBDC? Well, it's basically like a digital version of the cash we use every day, except instead of being printed by governments, it lives on a digital ledger managed by central banks.
So think of it like this. Instead of having a dollar bill in your wallet, you have a digital dollar in a digital wallet.
Exactly. And that digital wallet could be on your phone.
Yeah.
A smart card, whatever ends up being the technology of the future.
Right. It's still early days, so there's a lot of different ways this could play out.
So knowing all of this, what are some of the big fears that you're hearing from people about CBDCs?
I think the biggest one is control. You know, the idea that governments could have even more control over our money and how we spend it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
There's also the fear of the unknown, like this is such a new technology and we don't really know what the long-term implications are going to be.
Right. And people are already kind of wary of anything digital these days with all the data breaches and cyber attacks.
Exactly. And then there's the whole privacy thing, like will the government be able to track every single transaction we make?
Okay, so those are some pretty heavy fears. But before we get too deep into dystopian scenarios, let's take a step back and look at the potential upsides here, because there are some.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the government is going to be looking over your shoulder every time you buy a cup of coffee.
Right, it's not like they're going to send you a notification like, hey, we saw you spent $5 on a latte. Maybe try making coffee at home next time.
Exactly. But on a more serious note, one of the potential benefits here is actually more transparency.
Okay, now that's kind of ironic, right? More transparency from the government when it comes to our money.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but think about it this way. With CBDCs, all transactions are recorded on a public ledger.
Okay.
So in theory, it could be easier to track how money is being used, to see where it's going, and to hold people accountable for any funny business.
So you're saying this could actually make things more fair, more equitable?
Potentially, yeah. And it could also help to reduce things like money laundering and tax evasion, which is a good thing for everyone in the long run.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal here. But let's talk about something a little closer to home. Our wallets.
Sure.
How would this actually impact how we manage our money day to day?
Well, for one thing, imagine a world without bank fees.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
No more ATM fees, no more foreign transaction fees, no more monthly maintenance fees. Just think of all the money you could save.
I mean, that sounds amazing. But what about the banks? How do they make money if we're not paying all those fees?
That's a really good question, and it's something that banks are grappling with right now.
I bet.
Because if people start moving their money into CBDC accounts, banks could lose a significant chunk of their revenue.
Right.
So they're going to have to adapt. They might have to find new ways to generate income, like offering more personalized financial services or focusing on lending and investments.
So it's like a whole new ballgame for the financial industry.
Absolutely. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
Speaking of interesting, let's talk about the security aspect of all of this.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because if our money is going to be entirely digital, we need to know that it's safe.
Right.
Right? Because, yeah, like every time I hear about a new technology, the first thing that pops into my head is, okay, but how are they going to hack it?
Right. It comes with the territory these days.
It does. It does. So what are we talking about here in terms of security for CBDCs? Like, how do we even begin to protect something like this?
Well, the good news is that central banks are kind of obsessed with security.
Well, yeah, they kind of have to be, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's their reputation on the line here. So they're putting a ton of resources into developing super robust systems with all the latest and greatest cybersecurity technology.
Okay, so like super duper firewalls and encryption and all that jazz.
Oh, yeah. All of that and then some. Plus, because it's all digital, there's the potential for real-time monitoring and fraud detection.
So like if someone tries to pull off some shady stuff, they'll get caught red-handed, digital-handed, I guess.
Pretty much. And because the system is centralized, it might actually be easier to track down those bad guys and recover any stolen funds.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. But what about us, the everyday users? What can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, a lot of the same rules apply as with any kind of online banking or digital transactions.
Right, like strong passwords, two-factor authentication, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And be wary of phishing scams, suspicious emails, you know the drill.
Yeah, it's like they always say, don't click on links from strangers, no matter how tempting that free cruise offer might seem.
Exactly. Common sense goes a long way. But I think the bigger point here is that CBDCs represent a huge shift in how we think about money.
For sure. It's like we're moving from the physical to the digital realm, and that comes with a whole new set of challenges and opportunities.
Exactly. And it's something that we all need to be informed about and engaged with.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been an amazing deep dive, and I hope our listeners feel a little more informed about the wild world of CBDCs.
Same here.
So until next time, remember to stay curious, keep learning, and don't forget to check your digital wallets.
And watch out for those phishing scams.
Always good advice. All right, we'll catch you all on the flip side for another deep dive.